Alright, I think it's time for another little refresh on the service industry. I feel like people who become a manager in service industry, what I'm talking about is like restaurants, sit down restaurants with service, not necessarily fast food. It's a different kind of scenario. But people who become a manager in service, unless they are truly shooting to become a general manager or a district manager or something, really move up the corporate ladder, I don't see them doing it as like a career option, because for the most part, you move into a position like that at, for instance, the company that I work for. They make, $36,000 a year or something like that to start. And then, of course, they do get benefits. They get a lot of time off, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure they do get increases over time. But for what you deal with in the service industry, it really can't be enough to consider a career life choice. Obviously, some people probably do it just because they get stuck. And they just need to make enough money to, support a family or something. But I've come to the theory that those who become managers in the service industry do so for control. They're the type of character, and because of the situation that they're in, subconsciously they're drawn to it because of the controlling factor. Generally, most people don't become a manager in the service industry unless they worked in the service industry, unless they started as a dishwasher or a cook and worked their way up, or if they were a server or a bartender and worked their way up to be a manager. So no matter what, they've had some form of experience and understand what it feels like. It's kind of like where I'm at. I've been a server for 2.5 years. Before that I was a busser. Before that I was a dishwasher. So I worked my way up to serving. I do not enjoy the type of control that management exercises over me. And so if I were the type to, I suppose, give in to the temptation, I would probably want to move up to management to make sure they couldn't do that anymore. And so that I could exercise that kind of control over people. Even if I wasn't thinking of it, like I said, consciously, that would probably be part of the subconscious draw. However, I don't feel I have an innate desire or draw to control other people. Much more on the other side of things, like let people do as they please, But anyways, I'll give you an example of a situation. There was today. A specific manager that, of course, has been there as long as I've worked there, and that I had issues with in some senses when I was a dishwasher and a busser. He was running the floor today, running the dining room, and what that means is he was controlling, as business slowed down, he would make cuts. He would send people home that didn't need to be there anymore. And this is generally done on like a first in, first out basis. Sometimes, though, there's other things that come into play, such as, well, this person's section went completely empty. They have no tables. There's no reason to make them sit here and wait until they have a table before I cut them and send them home. While this person has 1 or 2 tables, and I can just as easily keep them, since they're already stuck here, and let them take on an additional table or something. So there's things like that come into play. There's also just sometimes a person might actually ask to go home early because they've got something going on. And as long as this doesn't really interfere with the flow of business, they'll usually try to help you out, if you're one of their preferred people. Today, I was among, there was 3 servers that were in at 12 o'clock, so you're like the later group. Our replacements are not scheduled to be until 5:30. And however, especially this time of year, regardless of the pandemic situation. This time of year is slow season. So you can usually expect that by 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the early side, we have the east and west side. The east side is the early in side. So those people are usually all cut and gone by 3 o'clock, 3 to 4 o'clock, somewhere in there. And then if things are pretty darn slow, like they were today, like dead, by 4 o'clock, you've probably cut 1 to 2 of your lunch closers, the people on the west side of the restaurant, and left a couple on to handle whatever, kind of the mop-up work, whatever comes in, straggles in until 4 o'clock, when today we had 4 servers scheduled to come on at 4 o'clock. Each of those servers has 3 tables. So that means that at 4 o'clock, when they all come in, you immediately have 12 additional open tables. Today, my section went empty at 3:30, and I just waited and I thought, well, no big deal. As long as nothing really comes in by 4 o'clock, we're all going to get cut. Maybe I'll get that one table and it won't be a big deal. I'll just deal with them and get them out of here. And then at 4 o'clock, we'll all be cut. We'll all get to go home. No big deal. It is way too slow. Just dead. 4 o'clock rolls around. They seat me right at 4 o'clock on a table. Just a one top, just a lady by herself, older lady. Funny side story on that. I got her drink, I got her food order, and then the lady looks at me almost pathetically, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but kind of this pathetic look, and she's wearing a mask, and she goes, so can I take this off now, or do I have to wait for the food? I felt like some sort of terrorist, honestly. Like, I don't know why, it just really hit me at that moment. I was like, ma'am, you don't have to wear it at all. We're not requiring that. As I said, only the employees have to wear those. You don't need to wear one at all. She's like, oh, okay, and takes it off. I felt so bad for that woman. She was probably in her 60s or something, sitting there thinking that there was like this crazy rule that she couldn't take her mask off until it was time to eat. Yeah, like I would imagine this would be the case in some democratic city, like, oh, well, they have to wear their mask, but they could peel it upward from their chin up to fit a bite into the mouth or take a sip of their drink. Anyways, back to the point. I get this lady, one top, get her order, get her set up. I'm like, okay, you know what? She's going to be simple. She's going to be easy. She'll be out of here quick. No big deal. I'm going to go start rolling my silverware. So, at 4:05, by this time, we had one of the servers had already come in 10 minutes early, which I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be it. We're good. 10 minutes early. And at 4 o'clock, I still got sat at the one table. And the manager started to see that I was getting irritated. That I was going around the restaurant, looking around, like wondering, okay, we've got all these open tables. Why are we not cutting the remaining lunch servers? This is crazy. I don't understand. And so he sees this going on. And I think he knows that I'm irritated, right? Well, literally 5 minutes later, I get sat again, and then I get sat in a table outside of my section because the lady had wanted this specific table, and they're like, hey, can you take this, the host? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll take it. And she's like, okay, cool. And then, so at this point, like I said, it's 4:05. We now have 4 dinner servers that just came on. But for some reason, they still filled up my section. And I went to their side of the restaurant, and I checked with them. There was one guy standing there, I'm like, do you have any tables? He's like, no, I don't have any. And I checked with the others. There was, among the 4 new servers that had come on, there was a combined 1 table sat for them, and yet they filled my section. So finally I go to the manager, and I try to play it off. I'm like, hey, it's 4 o'clock, and my section's just been filled. Is there any way I can just be cut now? He goes, oh, you want to be cut? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay. He doesn't cut me. He literally just leaves me on the whole time. And I'm thinking, okay, my replacement's not until 5:30. Maybe he's just going to leave me on until 5:30. Because once again, by 5 o'clock, he leaves me on this whole time, not cut. By 5 o'clock, my entire section was empty again. And I'm still wandering around for another 15 minutes wondering what's going on. Finally, the one host comes up and she goes, "Hey, Mark, your cut, I'll get you your card." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I follow her down to the host stand. And the other host goes, "Oh, his card's not down here." And she goes, "Where is it?" She's like, "Oh, well, the manager has it." And I knew exactly what was going on there. I've worked with this manager long enough to know what he does and why. And she was like, "Oh, that's weird. He didn't give it to you." I said, "No, he didn't want me to know he had it." And they go, "What?" I said, "He caught me because he should have, but he knows I'm irritated, so he's exercising his control over me. He doesn't want me to know I'm cut. He doesn't want me to know that he has my card. He's going to wait until he deems it appropriate when his authority says that I'm good. Even though my section's been empty for the last 20 minutes at this point." So finally, at 5:20, he walks through the dining room, sees me basically just pacing up and down the dining room, empty dining room. He goes, "Oh, Mark, you're cut." And he said, "What? Did you get your card?" I said, "No, you've got it." He goes, "Oh, no, I put it on the window back there." The window is, where you get your food from the kitchen. I was like, "Oh, okay." So basically, and like I said, you could think that you could assume that I'm assuming things and trying to mind read, but you'd have to know this person. Like I said, I've spent the last 3 years working with this person, a lot too, full time, pretty much, and in almost every conceivable situation we could go through in this restaurant. So basically, like I said, I already knew what was up. He knew that I was irritated. He knew that I thought that he was not running things appropriately and he was being unfair. And that I felt like I should have been out of there an hour and a half earlier. But in his mind, well, he's just the server. I'm the boss. So, I'm going to use this little power that I have over another human being and exercise that so he knows who's in charge. And that's exactly what happened. So, like I said, I believe 100% that unless you're on some sort of corporate track, like if you're gunning for it, you're like, "You know what, I'm going to move up to be a manager, and then I'm not sticking around there very long. I'm pushing to get my own restaurant, and then I'm going to move up to be a district manager somewhere." Unless that's your goal, what you're trying to do, if you're a manager in the service industry, I can only assume that you have some sort of controlling personality, like an overbearing controlling personality, and that's your subconscious draw to the job. Because I've never seen one of these people that isn't a major part of what they do as a manager. They don't just manage things. They don't just make sure things run efficiently and smoothly. It's not efficient to have a lunchtime server on at the same time as multiple dinner servers that have already provided you all the tables you could possibly need, and have that labor basically just standing around doing nothing for no reason other than you want them to know who's in charge. That's a waste of business. It's a waste of labor. It's not efficient anyway. But the problem is these people are not leaders. They don't understand what leadership is. I've had people ask me, "Well, aren't you going to try and move up, try and become a manager?" I'm like, hell no. Because you don't get to be a leader here. And people don't respect that here. It's just not how it works in the service industry. I hate this business. Unfortunately, I've been trying to get out of it for a long time, but like I discussed in my earlier video, it's extremely hard to use 3 years of serving as a resume moment. And then especially now, with this whole pandemic thing and there being so many people out of work, there's a lot of people that are more qualified with actual experience in a lot of things that I've wanted to do. So it's very hard to get into anything else. So, anyways, I wouldn't mind managing or training or any of that stuff. I've actually done quite a bit of training myself with new servers that have been brought on. and I got really great feedback from it, from the actual the boss of the serving training. She loved it when she could send a server with me and have me train them on stuff. I'm very concise. I explain things to people. I make them understand through example, and I show them why they want to do something or not do something, and they seem to really pick it up. I have a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of our staff right now at the restaurant that I personally kind of set them on the right path, but don't really get any credit for it because I'm just another server. And like I said, managing in this business, it's unforgiving, doesn't pay enough. And so really the only thing that I feel like could be the major draw is if I just wanted to exercise control over other human beings and their time and their energy, and I just don't have that desire.